Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about the lessons that can be derived from Hannukah and what we can take with ourselves. By implementing the stories and the halachot in Hannukah, we're going to try to see how we can take it with our lives. First I'd like to say a bit about the history. In the year 139 BC, Antiochus was the king, and he made a decree. At that time they were controlling the Jews, and he made a decree. He was about to make a decree that the Jews shouldn't keep Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Brit Milah, conform to the way that the Greeks lived, which is all about nothing. The difference was that they believed in God actually, but they say it's like sitting up there, nothing to do with the world. They had their own gods also, which they did Avodah Zarah. And they also, the difference was that Greeks felt that if they just had enough time and understanding, they can control their destiny. They didn't think that you can, they didn't think that God is controlling the world. The Jews on the other hand, they said, no, I do my potential, I serve Hashem, and at the end of the day, He's going to decide what happens. So that was the main difference between them. But the Greeks wanted them to become like them. They could have easily killed all the Jews, but it was more worthwhile for them to make them like the Greeks. There were many Jews who gave into it and went after that lifestyle. And in addition, there were many what they call Hellenists, Jews, Mityavnim I think it's called. These Jews, they became like the Greeks, and they also helped the Greeks against the regular Jews. One in particular, by the name of Tatni ben Pachat, this guy, he would tell them, listen, if you make the Jews do immoral acts, it's gonna weaken their strength. You're gonna be able to defeat them. He told them many other pieces of advice, like about Shabbat or whatever, that these things are important to the Jews, and if you break this spirit, then you can change them. Now, I want to ask if anyone can say, what was this, in the Bet HaMikdash, what was the significance of the menorah? Anyone have one point you'd like to share? Okay. Okay, so this is it. There's a pasuk in Kohelet. It says like this. Give a portion to 7 and to 8 as well. So that means that whoever has a portion in lighting the menorah in the Bet HaMikdash, somehow helps with the mitzvah, and whoever keeps the 8 days of Sukkah, it is guaranteed that they'll never be conquered by any nation. So this Hellenist, Tatni, whatever his name is, he knew this. So he told him, listen, go and make them. That's why they went inside and they destroyed all the oil in the Bet HaMikdash. There was only one left. That was the reason. Because why would they care about breaking oil? Another thing that the menorah did was amazing, is that when the Kohen Gadol would light it, all the Jews all over the world, even if they weren't looking at the light, whoever was learning Torah, it increased their knowledge, it illuminated their eyes, and sharpened their minds. That was the power of the menorah. So one of the big falls was because of the Hellenists, and I want to say that the Hellenists of today are the Reform and Conservative Jews. Now we all know, okay, we're not going to go in that direction, but unfortunately what's happened today is a lot of people are just tolerating them. Okay, they do their thing, I do my thing, they're dying out maybe. They're not necessarily dying out, it's not true. In Israel they're trying to make a comeback, and unfortunately thousands and thousands of Jews who are like sheep being led by these false leaders to either they get converted falsely, or they marry a non-Jew and they think he's Jewish. So a lot of problems with it, and really with all our strength we have to try to go against them and not support them in any way, and try to educate fellow people about Reform Judaism. And a few things about it. There was an old survey and it said that about 50% of Reform rabbis don't believe in God. So it's very funny because they're trying to teach Judaism and Torah, but they don't personally in their own life they don't believe in it. To them, it's more like a social club. Another thing the Reform did that went against their own brothers is that in World War II, when they had a chance to bribe the Nazi soldiers and release the Jews, they said, "I'm not going to do it." Well, the Jewish leaders, they said, if we bribe the Nazis, we're breaking the law. We go by law of the land, so we're not going to do it. We don't want to break the law, and they could have saved so many lives, and they didn't do it. Now, to go back into the story, we see another thing we learned was that the actions of Yohanan, a Kohen Gadol. What did he do? Basically, while all these problems were going on with the Greeks, Yohanan Kohen Gadol said, "Okay, we need to take some action here." One incident really caused him to take action, and that was that his relative was about to get married. She was a woman, and the Greeks came. They seized her, and they assaulted her in front of the fiance, and they defamed the Torah, the Sefer Torah, and they did all these things. So that's it. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna take care of this. So he puts a little sword inside in his jacket. He goes to the general's name was Nicanor. He goes to Nicanor. He says, "Listen, I'm the Kohen Gadol. I want to join your forces." This is what you're sketching me. You really want to join forces? You're head of the Jews. He goes, "No, I want to be with you. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. But I have one request. And the request is that you tell everybody to get out of." He pulls out his knife. He says a fast prayer. He says, "Hashem, please give me the boldness and the strength to kill this man." Pulls out his knife, sticks it in his heart, and he runs away. And that began the whole war, the Maccabee, Hashmonaim. It all started from this moment. When this happened, the war began, and approximately, what is the number here? I think over 700,000 Greeks were killed, and the Antiochus got pissed off. He's like, "Alright, so we're gonna take care of these Jews." He brings 10 million troops to attack the Jews. At this point, to win 10 million people was really a miracle. Even today, which army has, I don't think any army has 10 million people. Anyway, this time, what did the Hashmonaim do? They fasted, they prayed, they did teshuvah, they prayed to Hashem to save them, and they relied on a miracle here. And really, one of the miracles that happened is when they shot arrows at the Jews, the arrows went back and hit the Greeks. And this leads to this leads to the victory of the Jews against the Greeks. They entered the Bet HaMikdash, they found the oil and everything. Now, there's a question here. How many packets of oil were left in the Bet HaMikdash? 1. How many days they lied for? 8. So then, how is that? How many miracles is that?
8.
It's 7 miracles. The first one is supposed to light anyway. So really, you have 7 miracles. So why is the holiday 8 days? Do you understand what I said? Anyone? Everyone understand? Okay. So the Maran Shulchan Aruch asked this question. He's like, I don't understand. You light the one lights anyway. Now 7 more. I don't understand why I need to why it's an 8-day miracle. So the answer, well, there's many answers. One of the answers is that they saw how much can we split this oil in order for it to last an hour and a half. So they saw they can split in 8 ways. So, and what the miracle was that each night it lasted 24 hours, the light. So that because there's a mitzvah in the Torah that says that the esh should last continuously. So, and as you said, as long as the light's lasting continuously, the Jews cannot be conquered. And that's the main point, that they couldn't defeat them because the light was always being lit in the Bet HaMikdash. Now, I want to ask you a question. How do you deal with your enemies? By looking at what has happened. Do you just say, I'm going to pray to Hashem and I'm going to learn Torah? Or am I going to use my physical might and strength to attack my enemies? This question has risen in the past few days. The past few months. The Arabs have decided to go to war with us. They're stabbing left and right. And the biggest answer was, what do we do, rabbis? What do we do? What did they tell you? I want to ask you, tell me one thing your rabbis told you. Torah and Tefillah. That's all they said. Now, this is not my opinion only, but how can that be? How can that be the answer to the problem? You're learning Torah and Tefillah, you're doing Torah and Tefillah anyway every day. So, this one thing is not related to the other. When you have your enemy coming at you, Torah and Tefillah is not going to... David HaMelech didn't go into war with a Siddur in his hand. He had weapons, he fought, and he did what he had to do. On the other hand, you don't go to the other extreme. You don't say, okay, I'm going to build my army stronger, I'm going to get better weapons, I'm going to make a strategy, forget about God, it's all up to me. And that's like they did in the 67 war in Israel, that a lot of the soldiers felt that they were the best army, and that's why they defeated all the Arab countries that came against them. So both ways they have some point to it, but the main thing is like this. You do your Torah and Tefillah, and even Yochanan HaGadol, he said the following quote before they went to the big war. He said, one second, can't find it. Basically, the Jews at the time, they were allies with the Persians because King Cyrus allowed them to build the Bet HaMikdash. So when these 10 million came at them, they said, the Persians are going to come help us. Hashem, make sure the Persians come and help us. And we have to learn not to rely on the other nations. We have to... Comes Yochanan Gadol and says, no, we're not relying on it. We're only going to rely on Hashem. We're going to go in there, we're going to go to war, Hashem's going to save. And that's why there were so many miracles in the final war. Now, what you have to do is you have to have Torah Tefillah, but you have to guard yourself, and you have to know how to defend yourself against your enemies. Now, we're in a big war, and we're in a big war against the Arabs, and we have to know how to do self-defense, carry a weapon with us, and to educate people on how to deal with it. Because even many Rabbanim, many Tzaddikim were murdered by these Arabs. Even as far as even Baba Salih's grandfather in Morocco, they were attacked. One of them was killed by Arabs by a cannonball, and he describes how he got killed. He came in a dream afterwards, and he said that the cannonball, when it hit him, he died immediately, but he didn't feel any pain. It was like less than 1 second, and he died. That relates to, I just want to say that today's decrees against the Jews is, let's stop circumcision, let's stop shachita, because it's cruelty to animals. It's happening even today, what the Greeks try to do to us. What's not happening is, an all-out, like a Hitler type of guy. They're not so strong to do that right now. But what they're trying to do now is take away little things from us. But regarding shechita, it was proven that the animal doesn't even it feels like less than 1 second of pain when it's being slaughtered in the kosher way. When it's slaughtered in the non-kosher way, it can have pain for a few more seconds. So really our way is the better way, and they don't. There was a case where they proved that in court, and that's why it didn't become illegal. So that's the thing. We have to protect ourselves. We have to be men. We cannot be punks. We have developed this mentality because we were in the ghetto. Like a lot of the Jews were in the ghettos, or they were second-class citizens before they came to America. before they were released. So they always had their head down, and whenever a non-Jew bothered them, they just let it go and they let it go. And that's not the Jewish way. You have to be tough, and you can't take it from them. However, I'm not saying go and look for fights and beat them up, but you have to, because every time a Jew gets hit, it's a Chilul Hashem. Because they say, look at this guy, he can't even defend himself. This is God's chosen people. And a final message is the following. Today, we are in a bigger test than ever in history. As I said, there was Hitler, there was the Greeks, all these people. Today's way to put the Jew down is very nonchalant. Let them absorb into the culture. Just be in America long enough, you're going to act like them. Look at the Jews. The Sephardim only came 30, 40 years ago to America, and the ones who came like 100 years ago, there was totally different. There's no, like, I don't want to put anyone down, but like, usually like the ones who came 100 years ago, either they're totally irreligious or they're religious. But the ones who came 30, 40 years ago, there's like, there's traditional level, there's in the middle, they're still attached to what they had in the past. So what the Yetzer Hara is doing now is that, let us absorb into the non-Jewish culture without any pressure. As you see, you don't see anyone trying to make you be Christian. You have missionaries, but the general society is not trying to make you like them. It's saying, be yourself, but you hang around, you watch the wrong things, you get an influence. Certain music can influence you. Anything can influence you. So we have to just keep our eyes open on what we're seeing on a regular basis, and not let the Greek culture take over us.
Say it? I don't know how to say that part.